Hello and welcome back, everyone. I hope you had a nice weekend.
Good to be back.
Welcome to the Detox Health Channel. We're really excited to keep bringing you guys insightful information to help you on your health journey.
Absolutely.
We've got many more health-focused deep dives planned for you, so definitely stay tuned.
Yeah.
Trying to keep up with the latest in health can feel like a never-ending task, right?
Oh, for sure.
Sifting through countless articles and websites, and
Definitely.
that's exactly why we created this. To do that heavy lifting for you guys
Yeah.
and extract those key nuggets of knowledge that really matter.
Exactly. We take a close look at various sources, research, and then the information you share with us. And we try to kind of boil it down to what's most important and hopefully really interesting for you.
And today we're diving deep into the creamy, sometimes tangy world of yogurt.
Yep.
Specifically, we're going to explore what makes some yogurts healthier choices than others. You shared some really interesting information on different types and their nutritional profiles. So let's unpack this. Our mission today is to help you navigate that crowded yogurt aisle with confidence,
Right.
understanding exactly what to look for to meet your individual health goals.
It is a crowded aisle.
It can feel like a real nutritional puzzle sometimes, can't it? So where should we start to untangle this?
It can. Maybe we could start with why yogurt in general gets such a good rap as a healthy food. What are the broad strokes of its benefits before we get into the nitty-gritty?
Okay, sounds good. So generally speaking, what makes yogurt a healthy choice for us?
Well, probably the most well-known benefit is its probiotic content, those live and active cultures that are so beneficial for your gut health. Think of your gut as this diverse ecosystem, and these probiotics can help support a healthy balance there. And also, many yogurts are a really good source of calcium, which is crucial because many of us simply don't get enough of this important mineral for bone health and other bodily functions.
That's such a key point about the calcium. I always tend to think of milk first, but it's good to remember yogurt's contribution there too.
Yeah, absolutely. And depending on the type, yogurt can also be a significant source of protein. Protein, as you know, plays a vital role in so many areas for you, from supporting gut health to building and repairing tissues, keeping your immune system strong, and maintaining muscle mass.
Okay, so that all sounds really positive, but I have a feeling there might be a but lurking in there somewhere.
Yeah.
What are some of the potential downsides that we should be aware of as we're making our choices?
You're right. While many yogurts offer these benefits, it's important to remember that not all yogurts are created equal. Some can actually be quite low in those beneficial nutrients, like protein, calcium, and even vitamin D, while surprisingly high in added sugars. That's why it's so important to look beyond just the label yogurt and really examine what's inside.
Okay, that sets the stage really well. So let's dive into some specific types. First up, we have kefir. This one seems to be getting a lot of buzz lately. What makes it stand out for you?
Kefir is indeed a nutritional powerhouse, and one of the most significant things that makes it stand out is its incredibly diverse probiotic profile. It boasts more than double the probiotic strains that you typically find in most other yogurts, often around 12 live and active cultures. Think of it this way. With its wider range of probiotic species, kefir is like introducing more varied and potentially more resilient flora to your gut, offering a broader spectrum of benefits for your digestion and even your immune system compared to yogurts with fewer strains.
Wow, that's a significant difference. So more strains could potentially mean more varied benefits.
That's the general idea. And what's fascinating here is that kefir also tends to be much higher in vitamin D and calcium. We're talking roughly 20 to 30% of the daily value for each in a single serving. Considering how many people are often deficient in these nutrients, that's a really significant advantage. Plus, you still get a good dose of protein, around 10 grams per serving.
So it seems to be hitting all the major nutritional marks.
Yeah.
What about people who might be lactose intolerant? Can they still enjoy kefir?
That's another great benefit of kefir. The way it's made through a more extensive fermentation and straining process removes about 99% of the lactose. During this extended fermentation, the beneficial bacteria have more time to consume the lactose, resulting in that significantly lower lactose content. This often makes it a viable and well-tolerated option for many individuals who experience discomfort with other dairy products.
That's fantastic news for those of you who are lactose sensitive. Now, in terms of flavor and how we use it, is kefir similar to regular yogurt in that regard?
Not exactly. Kefir tends to have a more pronounced tangy taste, which some might need a little time to get used to if they're primarily familiar with milder yogurts. Also, its consistency is quite liquid, making it fantastic as a base for salad dressings or blended into smoothies.
Okay, so more of a drinkable yogurt with a bit of a zing to it.
Yeah.
Got it. Next on our list is Icelandic Skyr yogurt. I've noticed this one is often marketed for its really high protein content. Is that the main story here?
That's a huge part of the scare story. Its incredibly high protein content is definitely a major draw, making it an excellent choice for those focused on muscle recovery after exercise, or simply wanting to feel fuller for longer. This concentrated protein level is achieved through a very thorough straining process that removes a lot of the whey. Think of all that straining as concentrating the protein that remains.
So all that straining is what concentrates the protein.
Yeah.
That makes sense. And I see it comes in different fat percentages. Does that significantly change its benefits?
The fat content primarily affects the creaminess and, of course, the calorie count. You can find fat-free, low-fat, and whole milk versions. The higher fat options will indeed be richer and might contribute to greater satiety for some.
What about other nutrients in Skyr, like calcium?
This is where Skyr differs a bit from kefir. It tends to be lower in calcium, with most brands containing around 10% of the daily value per serving. So if calcium is a top priority, that might be something to consider.
And for our lactose-sensitive listeners, how does Skyr fare?
Similar to kefir, Skyr undergoes a significant straining process, resulting in a product with almost no lactose. So it's generally well tolerated by those who are lactose intolerant.
Texture-wise, it seems quite different from kefir.
Absolutely. Skyr is known for its super thick texture, almost like a very dense cream cheese. Because of this, it's typically enjoyed on its own or as a base for toppings like fruit granola and nuts.
Okay, so kefir is liquid and probiotic rich, while Skyr is thick and protein packed. Let's move on to Greek yogurt, which is probably the most familiar of the strained yogurts for many. How does it compare to Skyr?
Greek yogurt shares a similar nutritional profile with Icelandic Skyr, which is why they often get compared. It also has minimal lactose, around 10% of the daily value for calcium, and is a great source of protein.
But you mentioned it generally has a bit less protein than Skyr. Why is that?
That's right. The difference in protein often comes down to the degree of straining. Greek yogurt is typically strained a little less intensely than Skyr, resulting in a slightly lower protein content per serving.
And the texture reflects that less intense straining, right?
Exactly. Greek yogurt is still thick and tangy, but its texture is generally a bit thinner than Skyr. However, it's still considerably thicker than traditional unstrained yogurt. And like Skyr, it's available in various fat contents.
We've talked a bit about the nutritional side. What about how you can use Greek yogurt in the kitchen?
Its versatility is a big plus. It can be used in many of the same ways as Skyr, enjoyed with toppings and smoothies, but its slightly thinner consistency also makes it a fantastic substitute for sour cream in savory dishes.
That's a great tip for saving on fat and boosting protein. Now, I remember reading something about an environmental consideration related to Greek yogurt. Can you elaborate on that for us?
Yes, that's an interesting point to be aware of. The production of Greek yogurt generates a byproduct called whey, because large volumes of milk are strained to make Greek yogurt. A significant amount of this acid whey, which has a lower pH, is produced.
And what's the environmental consideration? Is it difficult to dispose of?
Initially, there were concerns that the sheer volume of whey being produced could overwhelm traditional disposal methods. However, there's ongoing research and development into managing this byproduct more effectively. It can be sold to farmers for livestock feed, used as fertilizer, and there are even technologies being explored to convert it into electricity. So while it was a concern, the industry is actively seeking sustainable solutions, which is a positive shift to note.
That's good to hear they're addressing it.
Yeah.
Okay, let's shift gears to Australian-style yogurt. The name itself sounds kind of laid back. Is its nutritional profile also more relaxed?
That's a fun way to put it. Australian-style yogurt is interesting because, unlike Sky and Greek yogurt, it's unstrained, just like traditional yogurt. However, the key difference is its creamier texture.
How do they achieve that creaminess without straining?
Different brands use different methods. A popular brand often achieves this by using whole milk, which naturally has a higher fat content. Other brands might employ a low and slow cooking process to enhance the creaminess without removing whey.
So if it's unstrained, does that mean it's generally lower in protein like traditional yogurt?
Generally, yes. Because it doesn't undergo the straining process that concentrates protein, Australian-style yogurt tends to be lower in protein compared to Greek yogurt or Skyr. However, the exact protein content will vary between brands, so it's always good to check the label. It still provides probiotics and calcium, making it a nutritious choice, just perhaps not the go-to if high protein is your primary goal.
Okay, that makes sense. Creamy, but perhaps not as protein-packed. Now let's delve into the non-dairy options. First up, we have soy milk yogurt. It sounds like this one might be a nutritional standout among the plant-based alternatives.
You're right. As far as non-dairy yogurts go, soy milk yogurt often comes out on top in terms of nutrient density. This is largely because its base soy milk is naturally a good source of both protein and calcium. As a result, the protein and calcium content in soy milk yogurt can be quite comparable to that of dairy yogurt.
That's great news for those avoiding dairy. What other benefits does it offer?
It's naturally lactose-free, which is a given, and it's also low in cholesterol. Additionally, soy milk yogurt typically provides a couple of grams of fiber, which is something you don't usually find in dairy yogurt, and it's very low in saturated fat.
Are there any potential downsides or things to be aware of with soy yogurt?
One thing to note is the sugar content. While you can easily find plain dairy yogurts with no added sugar, it can be more challenging with soy yogurt. Even plain varieties often have a few grams of added sugar. This is primarily because soy milk has very little natural sugar, and some added sugar is needed to aid in the fermentation process, so it's particularly important to check the nutrition label for added sugars with soy yogurt.
Good to know. Always read the label. Next, we have traditional yogurt. Sounds like it's maybe been overshadowed by its strained cousins.
That's true. As Greek and Skyr have gained popularity, traditional yogurt has become less of a focus. However, it definitely still holds nutritional value.
What are its key benefits?
It's a good source of probiotics and calcium, just like many other yogurts. Interestingly, it has a bit more lactose than the strain varieties, but the probiotics present can actually help with lactose digestion, so people with mild lactose intolerance may still be able to tolerate it reasonably well.
But the protein content is where it falls short compared to the strain yogurts, right?
Exactly. The biggest nutritional drawback of traditional yogurt is its significantly lower protein content. You're typically looking at around 5 to 8 grams per serving compared to the 12 to 16 grams you might find in Greek yogurt or Sky.
And the texture and flavor are also different.
Yes. Because it's not strained, traditional yogurt has a thinner, less tangy consistency compared to the strained varieties. If you enjoy traditional yogurt but want to boost its protein content, you can certainly add things like nuts, chia seeds, or high-protein granola.
That's a good way to customize it.
Hmm.
Now let's talk about some other non-dairy options. Coconut milk yogurt seems to be quite popular. What's the nutritional landscape there?
Coconut milk yogurt definitely has its own profile. A key drawback to be aware of is its generally lower protein content. Since many people turn to yogurt as a protein source, this can be a significant factor. However, some brands are starting to offer coconut yogurt with added protein, so that's something to look out for.
What about fat content?
Uh-huh.
I know coconut is often associated with saturated fat.
That's correct. Coconut milk yogurt tends to be higher in saturated fat because coconuts are a plant source of this type of fat. However, some research suggests that the saturated fat from coconut might not have the same negative impact on cholesterol levels as saturated fat from animal sources, but this is still an area of ongoing discussion. So it's wise to consume it in moderation as part of a balanced diet.
Interesting. Any other notable nutritional aspects of coconut yogurt?
Unlike dairy yogurt, it usually contains a few grams of fiber. It may also be fortified with calcium and vitamin D, and it's typically low in sugar. And like most yogurts, it does contain probiotics.
Okay, so lower protein, potentially higher saturated fat, but with fiber and often fortified with other nutrients. Finally, let's look at cashew yogurt. What can you tell us about its nutritional profile?
Cashew yogurt made from blending cashews and water and then fermenting it is another non-dairy option that's gained popularity. However, nutritionally, it tends to be relatively low in protein, calcium, and vitamin D compared to some other yogurts. It's also generally low in carbohydrates unless you opt for a sweetened variety, in which case the carb and added sugar content will increase.
So not necessarily a nutritional powerhouse in terms of protein and key minerals.
That's a fair assessment. However, a key benefit of cashew yogurt is that it's a good source of unsaturated fat thanks to the cashews. Unsaturated fats are beneficial for heart health as they can help lower cholesterol levels. And like other fermented yogurts, it does contain beneficial probiotics.
Okay, so primarily a source of healthy fats and probiotics in this case. We've talked about so many different types of yogurt, and it seems like most of them contain probiotics. Is that always the case?
That's a really important question. Most, but not all yogurts contain probiotics. Live active cultures are essential for the fermentation process that turns milk or plant-based alternatives into yogurt. However, if the yogurt is heat-treated after fermentation, those beneficial microbes can be killed off and won't provide the intended health benefits. So it's always a good idea to check the label to see which live active cultures are present, if any.
And why are these probiotics so important in the first place?
Probiotics play a crucial role in supporting your gut health. They can have a positive impact on immune function, help manage various digestive issues like diarrhea and inflammatory bowel disease, and there's even emerging research suggesting they might help lower cholesterol levels. This is largely due to their influence on the gut microbiome, the vast community of beneficial bacteria in your digestive tract that affects so many aspects of your overall health, including brain health and inflammation.
So live active cultures on the label are definitely something to look for. Now, with all this information about different types of yogurt, what are some really practical tips you can give our listeners about what to look for when they're actually buying yogurt at the store?
Absolutely. Navigating the yogurt aisle doesn't have to be daunting. Here are a few key things to keep in mind. First, added sugars. This is a big one. Opting for plain yogurt is generally the best way to minimize added sugar. If you prefer a sweeter taste, you can always add your own fruit or a touch of honey or maple syrup. Some yogurts do use non-caloric sweeteners, which is another option if you're watching your sugar intake. Just be sure to check that nutrition label carefully.
Sugar content is definitely something that can sneak up on you. What about fat content in dairy yogurts? There are so many choices.
Right. You'll see fat-free, low-fat, and full-fat options available. The fat in dairy yogurt is primarily saturated fat, which has traditionally been viewed as less heart-healthy. However, some more recent studies are suggesting that full-fat yogurt might not have the negative effects previously thought and could even offer some protective benefits. Ultimately, choosing a fat content that aligns with your taste preferences and overall dietary goals is key. Keep in mind that higher fat content will generally mean a creamier texture.
Okay, so maybe don't automatically reach for the fat-free version. What about protein content?
If satiety and muscle support are important, then prioritizing yogurts with higher protein content is a good strategy. This is especially beneficial if you're having yogurt for breakfast as a snack or after a workout. Greek yogurt and skyr are generally your best bets here. Remember, skyr's concentrated protein isn't just about muscle recovery. It can be a powerful tool for managing appetite and supporting a healthy weight by promoting longer feelings of fullness.
And finally, for those with sensitivities, what should they look for regarding lactose content?
If you're lactose intolerant, remember that kefir Icelandic skyr yogurt, Greek yogurt, and the various non-dairy yogurts are typically much lower in lactose and therefore more likely to be well tolerated. Many of these will even be labeled as lactose-friendly.
These are all really helpful tips for our next grocery run. Now, yogurt is so versatile. Can you give us some creative ideas for how we can add more yogurt to our diet beyond just eating it straight out of the container?
Absolutely. Yogurt is surprisingly adaptable. For example, plain yogurt makes a fantastic base for creamy and healthy salad dressings. You can also easily swap plain Greek yogurt for sour cream on things like tacos or burrito bowls to save on fat and boost protein. Adding yogurt to smoothies gives them a lovely texture and a protein kick. It's also a great topping for oatmeal or chia pudding. For a fun and healthy treat, try making frozen yogurt bars by freezing yogurt with fruit. And surprisingly, plain yogurt can even be used as a marinade to tenderize meat.
Wow, those are some great ideas. I especially love the sour cream swap and the marinade idea.
Yeah.
Okay, let's bring it all together. What are the key takeaways you want our listeners to remember from this deep dive into yogurt?
The main thing to remember is that not all yogurts are created equal. Consider your individual health needs and your taste preferences when you're making a choice. If you're after high protein and a tangy flavor kefir, Greek yogurt and skyr are generally excellent options. For those following a plant-based diet, soy yogurt tends to be the most nutrient-dense, while coconut and cashew yogurts offer different benefits. And remember that most yogurts are a good source of probiotics, which are great for your gut health.
This has been incredibly helpful in demystifying the yogurt aisle. It's great to understand the nuances without having to wade through numerous articles ourselves.
Exactly. We hope this deep dive has given you the knowledge and confidence to make informed choices about which yogurt best suits your needs.
So with this new understanding of the diverse nutritional profiles and uses of yogurt, what new ways might you incorporate this versatile food into your daily routine to support your health goals? It's definitely something to think about. And if you found this deep dive into yogurt helpful, we encourage you to check out the Detox Health channel for more insightful explorations into various aspects of health and wellness. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss our future deep dives.
We'll see you next time.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.